As we get closer to the coming weekend, you're going to be seeing, hearing, reading all kinds of stuff about the Eagles and how great they are. And you know what? Most of it's going to be accurate. Most of it's going to be data-based. The Eagles have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and in both categories, they rank higher than the team that's going to be coming into their stadium. But the team that's going to be coming into their stadium is pretty good too. Good afternoon to you. Good Wednesday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show. It comes your way every weekday afternoon. It'll be Steelers versus Eagles, 4:25 p.m. kickoff at Lincoln Financial Field in South Philly. And the Eagles are going to be favored, and they should be favored. They're really good. Have I mentioned that yet? Okay. The Steelers are probably better than the Eagles at special teams, and that's it. But something that I think might have just kind of sneaked up on people following this Cleveland game is the Steelers themselves crawled up into the top 10 for offense. They'd already been in the top 10 for defense. Being specific here, the Steelers are now 10th in scoring offense, 24.8 points per game. Scoring offense, if you don't know what that means, I mean, it's just what it sounds like. How many points just the offense gets. So if the special teams gets a touchdown, doesn't count. Defense gets a pick six or something, doesn't count. Just scoring by the offense. Actually, special teams does count because the kicks. You get the idea. The defense ranks 5th. Scoring defense, allowing only 18.3 points per game. Where I come from, that makes you a Super Bowl contender. And I know I could just feel it anytime I use those two words, Super Bowl. You don't even need the contender. Everybody's okay with contender. It's all right to discuss that. You're a Super Bowl contender if you're top 10 in both of those categories. Never mind having all the other, the fun and extra stuff that the Steelers have with their blocked kicks and muffed punts and everything else. It's a really good team. Now, I don't know who's going to come out of the NFC. I don't know if it's going to be Philadelphia. I don't know if it's going to be Detroit. I strongly suspect it'll be one of the two. And obviously, I can't look at the AFC and say, the Steelers are the favorites. Of course they aren't. Of course they aren't. You have the Bills where they are. You have the Bills with Josh Allen performing at I'm pretty sure this is the peak of his career, and that's saying something. I think he's a legit, if not favorite, candidate for MVP in the league. And then you look at the Chiefs and you say, they squeak by everybody, and they're all... all their games are so close. They barely beat the Panthers. You know what they do? They win. They get to the fourth quarter and they go, what am I going to do now? Taylor and I have a reservation for dinner. It's time to win the game. And then they go and they win the game. And everyone says, Chiefs are no good. All they do is they keep getting lucky, and so-and-so's toe wasn't on the line, or so-and-so shanked a 24-yard kick or whatever. But they keep winning. And the Chiefs, especially in the past couple of years, have really ramped it up when the games have mattered the most. And that's a lot of what defending champion type of teams tend to do. But your team's good. Your team's really good. And I think that'll apply even if they don't win this weekend in Philadelphia. When we come back, Chris Halleck's going to join us.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
As promised, now we're checking out Chris Halleck in the snow. See what happens if you shake the device that you're watching this show on now. You see, snow just falls all around him. It's so cool over there on the south side, huh?
I literally just started blowing in my face now too. So somebody did something.
See, that's what happened. They all did it at the same time, just like that. It was ball security day over there, huh?
Yeah, they decided to practice in the snow today. I haven't looked at the weather forecast yet for Sunday, but man, they're going to be prepared for it just in case it's pretty bad over there on the wrong side of the Commonwealth.
Well, the head coach isn't shy at all about doing a ball security day and just going outside just to deal with the elements. It doesn't necessarily, in his eyes, have to be about that weekend's games or that weekend's potential weather conditions. Now, he's not going to do it in advance of a game, in like the tropical whatever, but you never know when you're going to have a rain game, even in Florida, right? So
Yeah.
it's not a bad practice to get into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a Mike Tomlin thing. They preach both ball security and then like going after the ball, taking the ball away. It's an equal share on both sides. He is every time you're watching those guys go through those drills, watching like practice, you've seen it too. He's just constantly just yelling at them, ball security, ball security, balls. It just if there's a term that he says more often during practice, at least when it comes to offensive stuff, ball security might be it.
No, that's it. I mean, he handles these guys from the moment they're drafted or otherwise acquired. It's all about protecting the football. And this weekend, maybe more than most, the Steelers can't beat themselves offensively. I feel like we have the same or similar conversations week after week about what the Steelers need to do to improve moving the football and throw to this guy, throw to that guy, throw to Freiermuth for crying out loud. But at the same time, I don't know that they will have faced too many teams that have a defense like what Philadelphia has. I think maybe you have to go back to the Chargers, right?
Yeah. The Chargers are probably the stiffest challenge they've had so far, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Philly might be an even bigger. I'll put it this way: when Philly is without Brandon Graham and still has Nolan Smith and Sweat and Jalen Carter and those guys up front, that's probably the weakest part of their defense. Their linebackers and their secondary are up there with the best in the league. I'm not saying that as like hyperbole or anything that's just going way over the top. It is a dangerous group. There's a reason why they're the number one defense in terms of total yards against, tied for second in scoring, second in pass defense. The numbers are in line with the talent level that they have there. They actually play a similar way to the Bengals, but they just have way better personnel than actually people.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Bengals, the Eagles have all these dudes, and the Bengals have Trey Hendrickson. And it's like, that's it. So the schemes and the attitudes don't matter nearly as much. But the attitude, in particular, in Philadelphia is something that I think we can identify with now in Pittsburgh more than ever because of Andy Weidl being on this side of the state. Now, Weidl, of course, was a big part of what's been built in Philadelphia over the past few years. And it has been a gradual thing that even precedes a lot of these players who are partaking right now on the Eagles defense. They have that aggressive front. They have that physical front. They will get after you. Chris, but in the name of all that is holy, at least as it relates to football, you can't just turn around and hand the ball to Najee and say, go get him, can you?
No, you can't. But you talk about that aggressive front. That they're aggressive, but not in a blitz kind. It's a dangerous.
No, that's not what I meant.
I know.
Effective. Yeah.
No, I know. No, that exactly. They are a very effective front, but they do so in dropping 7 in coverage the vast majority of the time. They have the 4th lowest blitz rate in the league.
Who does that sound like?
But when you have the 2 linebackers that they have, Zach Bond's probably going to be an all-pro this year, and then Dean next to him is really good too. And then the 5 guys that they have in the secondary with Quinyon Mitchell, who the Steelers liked coming out of the draft, and Cooper DeJean, along with Darius Slay, who everybody knows.
Slay, yeah. I mean, it's a group, man.
it's a heck of a defense, but that front. They had I'll put it this way: you can't be overly stubborn and just be settling for running 2.3 yards per carry. But this offensive line has to figure out a way to create holes for Najee Harris. And Najee Harris needs to find a way to become a more productive back. Jaylen Warren, as good as he looked last week, he's got to find a way to hit another level, because if this offense is going to do anything against this defense, it's going to start with running the football. Because if you go into this game thinking that you're going to be able to throw and throw and throw when they're constantly dropping back 7, they have probably the best 7 to defend the pass in the league. That's not a great strategy. They have to run the football.
Making this sound really grim, aren't we? You know,
they're 11-2 for a reason.
Yeah, I know, and that's part of why. And I think I feel like football fans on the correct side of the Commonwealth should be, to an extent, grateful for what happened in Philadelphia with Weidl and the rest of the management over there. Yeah. Because so much of that approach, so much of that, we need to invest in what's up front, whether that was all of the money that went into the offensive line initially, meaning after the Marquise Pouncey group, finally had its day. Looked at the time, if you'll recall, this was around COVID time, like the Steelers were content to just kind of their way through recreating the offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, here's Kendrick Green. Let's just see what he can do.
And give him number 50. And give him number 53 in the process.
53, and by the way, you're the starting center.
Yeah.
Whereas once you got Omar and Weidl in charge, it was a different feel to that. It was like, all right, let's commit not just money. Let's commit first-round picks to this. And, oh, by the way, let's make sure that we're also taking care of the defensive line, because for a while there, need I remind anybody of the debacle in Minneapolis that had even Mean Joe Green freaking out over the Steelers' run defense? They were just getting reduced to, it was just Cam and some dudes. Okay? They had to go out and get Montravius Adams just as a tourniquet, okay, to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Well, now you're seeing something, with Keanu Benton on that side of the ball too. Just everything about the Steelers has become, I don't care who this offends, but it's become kind of Eagles-ish.
Well,
okay? They've just become a tougher team up front.
That's, if anything, I understand, like, you don't want to, like, Steelers fans don't want to give any credit to the Eagles or anything, but you have to look at the way that they're run. They are a well-run organization. There's a reason why they're constantly in the discussion for not only the NFC East division, but also in the Super Bowl contention. They've recently been in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And you look at what the Steelers are doing. Yes, they are investing in the trenches. And the one thing that it happened somewhat recently, but what's one thing we haven't had to talk about every single week for a while now? That's the offensive line. Right, like there was one game in Cleveland where we had to. They were not good.
Yeah, I was going to say Cleveland was a step
back.
No.
Yeah, for sure. But it felt like at the beginning of the year, it was this week we're talking about Broderick Jones. This week we're talking about something. It was always something on the offensive line that we're constantly hitting. I feel like it's been a little bit less often that we're having a.
They've made progress. You can just see that in the way they're carrying themselves. I walked past Zach Frazier the other day, and usually I'll just say something to him like, how's it going? And he knows I'm not asking about him. I'm asking about the line in general, right? Mm-hmm. And he just has this, how he's like this happy-go-lucky kid, right? And he just goes like this, nodding, and it's a good, healthy reaction. You saw Broderick Jones's film from Sunday. He was, he wasn't without his mistakes, but he was angry. He was feisty.
Yeah.
He was spirited. And if you go back to Brod's college tape, that's who he is on the football field.
Yep. And whenever he's able to take that feistiness and that anger and that aggressive play and be able to kind of hone it in a proper way to play, that's when he's going to be at his best. And we've seen that get better and better and better throughout the year. Like you said, it's not been perfect, and he's had some really bad reps at times. But overall, the body of work is definitely improving. And credit to Mike Tomlin for continuing to stick by him, because there were some games that were really, really rough in there that he could have pulled the plug. He could have tried to put anybody else, but no, he's like,
he stuck by him.
Yep, this is my first round tackle. We knew he was going to be raw coming out of Georgia. first-round talent, but we knew he was going to be raw. He's going to have to play. That's what's happening, and who knows? Maybe by the time the season comes to an end, he'll hit another level, and all of a sudden, this offensive line might look pretty good going into the playoffs.
Oh, the challenge is on the lines in this game. Yeah. All four of them between two each on each side. When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
And today's J1Q, that stands for Just One Question, comes from just across the state line.
Hey, DK, Doug Brandt here from Youngstown, Ohio. Do you think that come playoff season, we will be using Justin Fields in more situations? I'd really love to see him out at wide receiver or even under quarterback with Russ out at wide receiver. I think it could open up potentially splash plays. Obviously, that is a little bit more important when George Pickens out, but I'm assuming he would return by the playoffs. But yeah, do you foresee the Steelers using Fields a little bit more in the offense?
I do foresee them using Fields more in the offense. I absolutely, unequivocally, and unapologetically do not foresee, nor do I want to foresee Fields at any other position. And you know who else happens to feel that way? Fields. I'm a quarterback, was his response when this came up way back in training camp. I'm a quarterback. He's not just saying that because he's trying to stick to, his position and his pride, whatever. He's saying because he's never done anything else. He actually is just a quarterback. Now, could he do those other things? Could he go out for a pass? Oh, if I didn't misunderstand you there, you actually had Russ going out and lining up at wide receiver for a pass. None of these things are going to happen. Okay, it's way too late in the process. You never need to be that tricky. Those types of plays tend to backfire on you. If you're thinking back to, you look kind of young to be doing this, but if you're thinking back to Cordell Stewart or even, when Hines Ward and Antoine Randall L. Did this, Randall L. had quarterback experience, extensive quarterback experience. Randall L. could do anything. Cordell learned some stuff. This is obviously way before your time, but Cordell learned some stuff and became capable of doing things. But even then, he was never really a true wide receiver. What you are going to see, I believe, and actually, if you listen to the tone of the conversation that Chris and I just had, you could probably use a surprise or two if you're the Steelers offense against this particular opponent. If I'm facing 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 against that Philadelphia front, I'm not hesitating to put number 2 out there. You know why? Because he's still going to be able to hit that edge faster than anybody on that defense. He's still going to be able to give a look that they're not going to be able to adjust to, like on the fly. He just comes onto the field. They can look at film. They could even practice for it. But if you're talking about just a handful of snaps, I'd be considering that against the Eagles. But if you're talking about something that's super dramatic, like what you're saying now, it's the Steelers are fortunate at this stage of the complete NFL season and then heading toward the playoffs to have 2 healthy starting quarterbacks. That in and of itself can be a real advantage, because and I know what it's like when you see teams around the league getting ready for the big playoff game, and next thing you know, they don't have their quarterback, and then all the bettors, they take all their money and move it to the other side, or they'll call off the bets or whatever, because it just changes everything. The Steelers have 2 of them. And that's not nothing just because Fields happens to be standing on the sideline. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone checking out the new Daily Shot show. And we're going to have another one of these tomorrow.